Welcome to the Let's Get Vulnerable podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Morgan. You are in for a treat today. We are interviewing Erin Claire Jones. She is a human design expert. She's going to tell you all about her new book. It is incredible. I've really enjoyed reading it. So we'll be diving into her book, talking all about human design. You don't want to miss this episode. And if you don't know what human design is, don't worry. We'll talk about that. It's a very helpful tool for understanding yourself and relationships. I also want to make sure that you know that the Empowered, Secure, Loved group program is open for application. Right now in May, we're offering a founding members discount. So this is a incredible deal. If you've been on the fence or if finances are something you've been concerned about, this is going to be a really great opportunity for you to take action. I just want to put it out there that nothing changes until you change, right? You can't expect different results in your dating life if you are not showing up differently. So this is your invitation. Do the work on yourself, learn to embody your securely attached identity, and then watch everything else in your life change. You get to attract an emotionally available, loving, healthy partnership, also improving in work and family relationships and friendships. And we've even had so many clients who report having a better relationship with money and improving their finances when they're doing this work. It makes sense to me because when you become securely attached, you're stepping into your highest and best, most confident self with a regulated nervous system, and you're able to show up in the world from that confident, secure place, and everything changes when you show up that way. So this is your sign. If you've been on the fence, now is the time. Go use the link in the show notes. It takes about 5 minutes to apply. I am so excited for you, and I know that you are so deserving of doing this work. Enjoy this episode with Erin. I know you're going to love it. This is a powerful conversation. Make sure you check out her book if you're interested in learning more about human design and how it can help you in your relationships. Welcome. You are tuned into a very special episode of the Let's Get Vulnerable podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Morgan, and we have an incredible guest with us here today, Erin Claire Jones. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. So happy to be back.
So excited for our conversation. You have a new book, and I've been reading parts of it and have just loved how much it has resonated with me. And it's already helped me have some amazing breakthrough moments. So excited to talk about your book. And I want to just reintroduce the audience to you. If you haven't listened to our episode together, you should go back and listen to it because we did an episode. When was that, a year and a half ago? Time
I feel
flies.
like that's right. I feel like a year and a half ago, maybe a little bit longer. Yeah.
Okay. We'll put it in the show notes. Go listen to that episode as well. It's so good. But let's reintroduce you to the audience. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then we'll get into what is human design as well.
Okay, great. So my name's Erin. I work with a system called Human Design, which I'm sure we'll talk about. And I have been working with the system for about a decade now, which is really, really crazy. And I work with individuals and couples and businesses all around, kind of helping them find a way of working and operating that feels more authentic to them. And Human Design is the tool I use to do that.
I love it. And you have an incredible guide that I have that totally changed my life, just being able to have this guide and explain the way that I work and the way that I do things, and kind of giving me that affirmation and validation of no wonder I do things the way that I do them and make decisions the way that I do, right? So I think just like I use attachment styles in relationships to help people understand themselves, this is another tool to really help people understand themselves so that they can then make really empowered choices in their lives, right? But tell us
That's
about
great.
human design for someone who they've never heard of it. How would you explain it?
So, human design is a mystical assessment tool. It is based on your time, date, and place of birth, and it reveals how you are uniquely wired to operate in every area of your life, from relationships to career to business to parenting. It basically gives you your own roadmap to finding your flow. It's super specific, very hyper personalized, and it really gives you very tactical guidance around, like you said, how to make empowered decisions, how to find and create opportunities, how to structure your day to day in a way that's sustainable, how to articulate your relationship needs, how to take care of yourself as a new parent, and so much more.
I love it. I love it. And how did you find yourself in this area? What led you to becoming an expert in human design?
Yeah, it is so crazy coming up on 10 years. I'm like, how has it been this long? I discovered it very serendipitously. I was sitting at a friend's house in New York City when I lived there in 2015, and I sat next to a stranger who asked to read my human design chart. And I had never heard of human design, but I was curious to learn what honestly any system had to say about myself because I was in a moment where I didn't quite know what was next. And he proceeded to give me the most accurate, insightful, confronting reading I'd ever received, confronting in that I was so not living my design. And so him articulating it made me realize how far off I was from this way of operating that felt a little bit more authentic. So he ended that conversation by saying, Erin, I think you're meant to do this. I think you're meant to share human design with the world. And that's really kind of what sparked my journey. And my human design specifically is all about waiting to be invited in. So my whole journey with the system began with somebody being like, you are meant to do this. Will you study with me? So it's been a pretty wild and amazing journey ever since then.
So much bravery for you to say yes in that moment after just having been introduced to it and then to have the invitation and then to say, yes, I'm ready to do this.
No, it is crazy to think back on. I think that it felt right. And I also think that I was young. It is different now. It's like I hope that I'm still brave in my choices. Human design helps me do that, but I also have two daughters and a lot of things weighing on me and then I kind of have to hold. Back then I was a little bit like, okay, let's just do it, and it just felt right. And it is funny though, because human design was not well known at all. It was very fringe. And so it is so amazing that it has grown in popularity and grown in awareness because that was just not the case when I started working with it.
Absolutely. Wow. Yeah, you are one of the go-to people in this field, and I love that that it just happened and it was the right time, and you said yes, and it's amazing. So, someone who wants to learn about human design and they want to understand their design, what is a good place for them to go? I know you have so many resources on this.
Yeah. So first look up your type. If you go to humandesignblueprint.com, look up your chart. It's not going to make sense immediately. You're probably going to see a wild looking chart with shapes and colors and numbers, but don't worry about that. Just look at the kind of the qualities, the type, the strategy, the authority. And I would start with playing around with those things. I think that the guide, which we have a discount code for, is a really beautiful place. Like if you're just like, I want to know what this all means for me, that is an amazing resource. And the book is absolutely that too. The book is going to help you know how to actually live your design, how to use it in your career, your relationships, and beyond. So those resources are kind of meant to complement each other and support you in really integrating your design into your life in a way that can really transform your life. And I think that's honestly what drew me to human design in the first place is that it gave me all this juicy information that made me feel so seen. And that was paired with all these very practical tools that I could immediately integrate into my day to day life in a way that I experience and impact so soon after that. So I think that, the magic of human design is very much in its practicality as well.
I love that. Yes, and we'll put the links for that in the show notes. And this guide is not your average guide. I mean, this is a thorough there is so much value in this guide. I think mine was like I want to say almost 100 pages. I mean, is that right? I mean, there is a lot that someone is going to get if they go get this
Yeah.
guide. Yeah.
Yeah. It's around like 65,
Okay.
anywhere
I was going to
65 and up.
say it's long. So I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Um and I think I know I was talking with you about just the awareness that comes with knowing your type and how it can just be so helpful. And it kind of gives you that validation of no wonder I do things the way that I do them. I'm a manifesting generator, and I was talking with you about realizing that the way that I do things is different than other people, and I think one of the main things that I struggle with is speed. I love to do things really quickly, and I always have a ton of things and I want them done quickly because I can see the end and I can see it done. but I don't like the step by step, the process of getting there always. So I was just telling you how my fiance has stepped into working with me in certain areas of the business, and realizing that he is very different from me in how we approach things. Just I sent him little snippets from your book, and I was like, "Look, this is why I am the way that I am." So I think it's just having that common
Yeah.
language, right? And being able to understand ourselves.
Yeah, that's right. I think that human design often doesn't tell us anything new. Not that it can't be revelatory at breakthroughs upon breakthroughs, but it more gives us a language for our experience in a way that we often haven't had. And I think in a way that allows us to be like, oh, yeah, that's me. It's not like I'm not wrong for doing too many things. I'm not wrong for moving really fast. I'm not wrong for quitting something or pivoting or changing direction. But I also think it gives us the language to articulate ourselves to other people, you know? And I will say, I love your work because it does human design. I think, as is with attachment styles, it just brings so much empathy and compassion into relationships. Like, even discovering my dad, my dad's a projector like me, and projectors are not here to be consistent doers. They're here to kind of take rest, space, have lots of time alone. And I remember growing up really getting so mad at my dad when he was like, I've got to pull back from the social gathering. I'm like overstimulated, or I like need to stay in tonight. I was like, you've got to be involved all the time, and it was such a lesson looking back where I was like, he was actually being such a good projector. He was honoring his design so much, and so I think for me, it's been so helpful to even understand his design now, because I'm realizing I made him wrong for things that were so inherent to him. And it's also taught me how to honor my projector design more. So it's just such an amazing tool in relationships. Even with two daughters that are super young, I see it so clearly in them.
And I think it goes back to one of the superpowers in relationships is being curious and asking questions and seeking to understand who we're in relationships with.
Absolutely. Yeah, and, like,
Yeah.
how do you make decisions? How do you need to be communicated to? All the things.
Yeah. And let's talk about your book called How Do You Choose? Tell me all the things, because I've written a book myself. I know about kind of this process. You and I were talking about, it's like it is like giving birth. You are giving birth to a human baby and a book baby at the same time. But tell me, how did this book come to be? What was your hope for this book?
Yeah, I think that I had wanted to write a book for a long time, and a lot of my students and community had asked for one, but I think I wanted to wait to write one until it felt really clear, like, what book was actually needed. And I think that there are a lot of amazing human design books out there, and but they all kind of take the form of some human design textbook, where it's like, let me describe all these elements. And for somebody like me, I love reading it because I'm like, I love everybody's perspective. Like, give me all the juice around what human design is. But I guess what felt like was missing was a human design book for just like the average consumer, the person who was not interested in learning all the details of the system, but was more interested in how to use this system to live their best life. And that's who the majority of my clients are. It's like people that are just like, okay, what can I gather from this to change my life? I don't need to understand every single gate and every single center and what the incarnation cross is. I want to know how to actually use it. And so that was kind of the genesis of the book, is like, how can we make a book that's more accessible to the mainstream? And that just becomes like a decision making guide for people. They want to make a big decision in their lives. They return to their design and kind of know which direction to move forward. And human design is just the vehicle for that. And then I think alternatively, additionally, I mean, I've sat with so many thousands of people in sessions over the years, and I find their stories are often the best way to share the concepts of human design, because I've watched the ways that they've integrated human design into their life and changed their lives. And so the book is also so full of stories, and I think that was probably the most exciting part for me, because I just think so often it's like, here's this big explanation and it's kind of hard to integrate. And so I think being able to kind of offer an explanation paired with actual examples of how people actually live it, I don't know. It's a different way of telling the story of human design. It hasn't come out yet as of this conversation. I know it will be out when it is released, but I don't know how that's going to be received. But for me, I know that when I read books, the stories are my favorite part, and they kind of help me understand concepts in a way that is really profound and really different.
Yeah, I love it. That's the feeling I got, that, I was lucky enough to have an advanced copy. And as I was reading through it, the feeling is, wow, I can really apply this to my life. It feels easy to integrate. So I think
Yeah.
that, and
Yeah.
that's the goal, right? It's like, yes, we wanna understand, and we wanna be able to go and apply what we learn and easily apply it to our lives. So, I think, this will be a very helpful book for anyone. And one thing I realized is I told you this, I went and read the parts that apply to the manifesting generator, and I think it'd be very helpful for me to know the significant people in my life, to know what their design is, and then go back and read the parts that apply to them.
That's my hope. I think the first place for us all to begin is like, yeah, what does this mean for me? But I will say, like, even just writing the chapters of like my husband's design, my daughter, like we have of the five types represented in my family. And so just like reading the chapters of each of my kids and my husband, every time I read it, I would be like, oh my God, like this is a way that I could better support them. Oh, like this is why this has been hard. So like it's just so funny that like I wrote the book and yet still have revelations reading it around like why things are working or not working in my life. But my hope, to your point, is really that people read the chapters beyond them because I just think it is such an amazing tool to like understand how to best function as a unit, how to best support the people you love.
Yeah.
And the last section of the book is all around very specifically around decision making. For example, you and I are both people, even though we're different types, we are people that need to sleep on decisions and take our time and feel into things. Whereas there are some people that are meant to be super spontaneous and in the moment, and some people who need to talk things out, and some people who need to like wait a full month. And so I think it is so useful to understand the designs of the people around us so we can make collective decisions better. One of the stories I tell in the book is of a couple who she was designed to make decisions very quickly. And when we sat together, they were trying to decide whether or not to move across the country. And she already knew that she wanted to move to the East Coast. It was like crystal clear. But she felt like her husband was really waffling because every day he was like changing his mind. And when we looked at his design, we realized that his way of making decisions was to give himself a full 28 to 30 days before making a big decision. So the waffling was not indecisiveness. It was just part of his process of reaching clarity, of like talking things out and sampling all the options and landing in his truth. So in a moment like that, she was so frustrated with him because she just didn't understand his process. And I think human design is such an amazing tool to be like, okay, people around me all are very different. Like, what is this amazing tool to just help me better understand people? It's like a cheat sheet to the people that we love.
Love it so much. Yeah, it's that beauty of being curious about the people that we love and really trying to understand them and meet them where they are at. I know you've
Yeah.
probably run into this a lot, but this conversation makes me think about our tendency to outsource our decision making, to almost be cut off from our own inner knowing or losing our self-trust over the years, right? And I think by knowing your design, hopefully that's a tool to bring you back to trusting your own process and empowering yourself to make your decisions, because there are so many people pleasers or people who've experienced relational trauma, and they really just start to outsource the decisions in their life. And we find people that, they're in relationships that don't work or careers that don't work. And I think it's because they get cut off from their inner knowing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's what I love about human design is that like I am not meant to sit with somebody and be like, you should go be a dermatologist, or this partner is right for you or not. But it really I can offer them the kind of path to finding the truth for themselves and how to access their own knowing, whether it's sleeping on things or being asked specific questions or talking things out. And so I think to your point exactly, it is such an amazing tool to stop outsourcing our knowing and really understanding what's right for us in every area of our lives. And, it's funny because I did write this book as a decision making guide, but I didn't totally know how it would be used. And I had a friend who had an advanced copy and she was trying to decide where to move, like whether she should take this apartment. And I was like texting her and then I was like, why don't you just like open it to this chapter? And she opened it and then like 5 minutes later, she's like, I know exactly what to do. And I was like, it's just so amazing that she just like was reminded of her process, was reminded of how to access clarity and immediately knew. And so like, it's funny that we can know these things about ourselves and still struggle to trust it. And there's like, that's why me writing the book and reading it, I'm still reminded of these things. So it's such a powerful way, again, to kind of just like anchor us into like what is genuinely right for us in every area of our lives.
Yeah, the validation of your process being your process and being what you need to do, right? I think that that's huge. Yeah. Yeah. I know.
So did you have reading the oh, go ahead.
No, no, you go ahead.
I'm just curious, like reading like you are obviously familiar with your design. So like what came up for you reading the manifesting generator section? Like, what was it stuff that felt familiar? Were there new things? I'm just curious your experience.
Yeah, I really appreciate you asking me that. I think for me, I've been in this season of growth and I've been doing my podcast now for over 4 years and my business for 5 years. And I think I've had this desire to kind of pivot and not necessarily do something different, but grow and evolve and do what I'm doing now very differently. And I think I've had a lot of resistance to that because I felt like I have to stay the course. So I think for me, what was coming up was that awareness of course I'm growing, of course I'm evolving, of course I have this desire to do things differently and that I need to lean into that and not fight it.
Totally. And that for manifesting generators, especially in their career, like, freshness is so needed. It's part of who you are. You need variety, you need change, you need like evolution.
Yeah.
It's just so much more natural for you to kind of like have that need than not, and I love watching the ways that manifesting generators experience that because sometimes they like meet their need for variety by having lots of different careers at once or just constantly evolving, like having your podcast evolve, your offerings evolve. Freshness is such an integral part of who you are.
Yeah, and it's small things too. I was realizing like, why have I been like I change up my workout, like where I go to work out. Probably every 6 months I need to go to like a different studio or a different gym. I need to try Pilates. I need to like do something different. So it's even like small things like that of realizing, of course, I need the variety. And even my work environment, I've been working from home for 5 years. And recently I've had this pull, I have to go to a co-working space. Like I have to get out of my home. And I think it just makes a lot of sense for me. And then anytime I travel, I was in New York recently for some podcast recordings. I was so invigorated by just being in a new environment with new people and new things to do, and just kind of realizing how important that is to me to have the variety and that that's okay.
Totally. And like so normal for you. It is just so fascinating to me because honestly, whatever our design, I feel like we so often make ourselves wrong for the things that make us us. Like manifesting generators are like, oh my God, I'm too scattered. I'm like doing too much when like that variety is like who they are. Manifestors are like, I need to finish everything I start and like I'm flaky for not finishing, but like they're just here to start things. Like that's their gift. It's just like it's so wild that we can just like talk ourselves out of doing these things that are so true and right for us. And again, human design just returns us to like, oh, that is our gift. That's perfectly okay. You're meant to pivot and keep it fresh and need variety.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And I took up tennis this year. I just there's so many examples of like new things that I'm doing and things that I'm doing just because I enjoy doing them and how important that is for me to fill up my energy. I have to have something that I'm doing just because it's fun, not because I'm trying to get to a certain result. So yeah, I think there's a lot of confirmation for me in reading your book. So I'm very grateful. I love it. I'm gonna read it with my
Yeah.
fiance next. We'll have to read it together.
I'm so excited. You've got to, yeah, look up his design. It's really, like I said, it's just reading about the people in my life. Every time I was like, wow. So I'm curious your relationship to so you're somebody who's meant to sleep on things and take your time feeling into decisions. Does that feel like a thing that you honor in your life? Like, do you notice a difference when you sleep on things versus when you rush into things?
I do notice a difference, and there has been plenty of times where I've rushed into something. And I think some of that is cultural influences and there's all kinds of business stuff out there that's like success loves speed, all it's like kind of
Yeah,
like
totally.
it's taught to us that we're supposed to be able to make decisions really quickly. So I think giving myself permission to say, you know what, I can sleep on it because that's when I make my best decisions. I have to sleep on it. I have to think about it. I have to slow down and feel the energy of it. For me, it's not even about what my brain says. It's what does my body say? What does my emotions say? What does my intuition say? And I have to make space to be able to tune into that because I can't just, switch into it easily. It takes a little bit of time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a good oh, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking how powerful that is to know that, and that if everyone knew their decision-making process, how much stress that would take out of the process, right?
It's crazy, I know, we all have different ways of making decisions, and I do really feel that, like, when we enter into decisions in a way where we feel really clear and we know it's the right one, it feels like we're able to kind of surrender to the magic of that experience and let it teach us whatever it's meant to teach us and be in it for however long we're meant to be in it. But I know for me, because I have a similar way of making decisions to you, that when I rush into decisions or am more rash in my decisions, I kind of enter into things in a pretty turbulent, uncertain, questioning way, and I feel like that uncertainty like stays with me. And so I know for me, like taking the time to feel into decisions, which again is not needed for everybody, but I know is 100% needed for me, makes so much difference in the actual experience. So I do think kind of entering into the right things in the first place is so important. I tell a story in the book of somebody who's meant to be very fast, like gut feeling in her decisions, meant to know really immediately. And when we met, she was about to get married, and you could tell that she was really feeling confused about it and she wasn't sure. And through our conversation, it just became clear that like she really didn't want to get married and it really didn't feel like the right thing for her. And when we talked about it, it became clear that like she felt that way from the minute she said yes. And yet she'd still been kind of engaged in the relationship for a long time because she just like was outsourcing her own knowing and wasn't really trusting her gut. And when she was reminded of the power of her gut, she was like really reconnected to what she really knew, which was like it wasn't the right fit for her. So it is also wild that we just like it's really easy to ignore it. And then we can kind of get stuck in experiences that aren't for us. So again, like taking the time to really honor our process, I just think has such a tremendous impact.
I love it. So powerful. I'm curious, let's say that somebody's listening and they know what their design is, but they want their partner to be involved and also know what their partner's design is. I guess you could use me as an example. Um, I'm really fortunate in that my partner is super open to things and he's very emotionally intelligent and he always wants to grow together. But how would someone go about approaching their partner and saying, "Hey, I learned this really cool thing and will you be open to learning this too?" Like what's your best advice for bringing your partner into this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that in some ways it varies per design because like every type's going to have a little bit of a different experience with it. But I would say that I would start with like my experience is that when people kind of really learn about their own design, it like is very infectious. Like I remember I had a client who was so into her own design and her partner was really disinterested. But then like a year into it, he was like observing how much her life had changed. And he was like, fine, like tell me now, I want to hear. And so like for her, it was just like the embodiment of her own design that eventually kind of piqued his curiosity. But I would kind of present it as a thing and just see if they're open and specifically kind of through the lens of your own experience. I know for me, it's been really helpful to kind of articulate to my husband where it's just like, these are the ways that it's changed my life. And also like, I've learned that I make decisions this way and I could feel supported and better honored by you in this way, whatever it is. So I think human design gives us that language to talk about what we need. So even if you don't even go to a partner and you're like, I want to teach you your human design, you might just be like, I want you to know that I make decisions slowly. Or I want you to know that I need to talk things out. And when I talk things out, like, I don't want your advice. I just want questions, or like, I want you to know that I like to be invited into things. So when you offer me words of acknowledgement, that's really specific to me. I feel really seen. So I also have so many clients just use the human design framework to speak about their own needs in a way that isn't explicitly human design. But I don't know. I think it's like such a fun thing to explore together. So I would just kind of bring it up and see if they're up for it because I think a lot of people kind of get their guides and then get their husband or wife or partner's guide and then read theirs or read the chapters in the book. And so I just think it's like the coolest relational tool to better understand the people that we love. And I think if it comes from that intention, they might be inspired to.
I love this and I definitely
I mean,
am.
how do you recommend? Yeah, go ahead.
I It's the same. I was gonna say, I'm so in line with you here of we wanna model it and show how it's really been helpful to us, and when we show up differently, then our partners are naturally curious and they wanna know. So I think just what you said of model it, embody it, and then you can invite them in and you frame it in a way of, "Hey, because I'm curious about you, because I care about our relationship," right? It's to help us function better together. It's not to label you or judge you. It's to help us understand one another and function better. I think, no matter how long it takes, eventually they'll be curious and they'll want to know.
Yeah, and it is also, I've learned so much over the years around how to communicate it in a way that's more accessible. Like, obviously, nothing's for everybody, but if I walk into a relationship or a team or whatever, and I'm like, "You're this, and you must do things this way," like, probably not gonna feel great, but I think that, like, when I present it more like, "This is what your human design says," like, "How's it feel? Does that feel true for you? Like, if not, what does feel true for you?" Like, it just kind of, like, opens the door, and I think what I always remind people when I offer sessions is what matters most to me is not whether human design is true, but whether it's useful, and so kind of just, like, presenting it with this very non-dogmatic lens and seeing how people respond and letting it be, I don't know, an invitation for conversation around what your needs are and how you can better honor each other. So I think also, I think that having it be an ongoing conversation can be useful because if people like are not really in systems like these, it might be a lot for them to be like, you're this and you must do this. So kind of approaching it a little bit more flexibly. Although I will say that when I first started showing human design, I was fearful that it would feel too prescriptive for people, that it would be like, you're meant to do this. But my experience over the years is that like it just feels so resonant and so familiar that people like don't feel boxed in by it. They feel liberated by it. They're just like your design specifically is about like not being boxed in. And yet human design like tells you that. So you're like, yes. So I think that it is really, I think it feels like people tend to resonate with it pretty immediately because it just feels like, yeah, of course that's me. Thanks for putting
Yeah.
words to it.
Yes, it's a tool for understanding, not for judgment. Yeah, so powerful.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
I want to go back to the book.
What is the, I guess you kind of, oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I just want to
Yeah. Go,
I
go,
want
go.
to talk about the book with you because I'm so excited about it. Remind us when it's available. I know that it'll be available when this episode comes out.
The book comes out May 13th.
Okay. So May 13th, and we're going to have all the links in the show notes. So go get it. And will you tell someone kind of what would be the end result that you would want them to take away from the book? Like how will they feel once they've read this and been able to apply it to their lives? What's the benefit for them?
My hope is that it's a really empowering resource and it's not one that you pick up once and put it down. It's one that you pick up and you're like, oh, like I see why this relationship is hard right now. This is how I could show up differently. Or I see why I'm having a hard time making this work decision. This is how I could do it better. And I hope it's one that you just keep coming back to whenever you're in a moment of struggle, challenge, at any kind of crossroads as a way to kind of just like reconnect yourself and be guided. And I think the ultimate goal is that you are working in a way that feels sustainable to you, that you're in relationships that you feel really seen and your needs are honored, that you're making decisions that feel confident and clear and aligned. And you just feel like you are where you're meant to be in your life. And you are open to kind of whatever comes next. So, it is meant to be a manual that you keep coming back to for every decision that you make as a way to kind of return to yourself and keep you aligned with who you are. And I hope it gives you that experience that you had of just like permission giving of like,
Mhm.
"Oh gosh, yeah, that is me, and I'm so grateful to have a language, and yeah, I wanna, like, take a screenshot and send it to my partner or my friend or my boss so they can, like, better understand me."
I love it. Amazing. Yeah. And I think obviously, we'd love to hear from you if you are reading the book. I'm sure you can connect on Instagram. What is your Instagram handle?
Erin Claire Jones and also Human Design Blueprint.
Amazing. Yeah. So screenshot it, share the book, tell your friends about it. Um, I know, I don't know about you, but I love hearing from the audience or just from anybody who's read, anything I've put out there. It's that reminder of why we do what we do. It's so nice to hear back from people. Yeah. Erin, as we're talking, I'm having this question pop up because I've been getting so many DMs about this topic, which is friendships as we're aging. So, how our friendships are evolving in our late 30s and 40s and beyond. And I'm curious because that can be a real pain point for people. I just want to acknowledge that. Like our friendships as we're aging, the way they change or the way that they're not happening, it can be really painful for people. But in your experience, has human design, applying it, has it helped people in their friendships as well?
I love that question. I was just sharing about that on Instagram the other day around projectors and friendships. And the response was really wild because people are like, "Oh my god, thank God like you're talking about this because people need to talk about this." So I will say I find human design to be such a useful tool in relationships and in the book there's a kind of chapter for every type around their relationships and how they can be best supported. So it's an amazing tool. I would say, like, for me personally, as a projector in human design, again, you can look your own chart up. I think a big lesson for me has been around the need for reciprocity. Like, for example, projectors are really, really good at making others feel seen. But sometimes, and I know this was the experience for me, is that I made a lot of people feel seen, and then I realized I felt seen by no one. I was like, I don't know if anyone really knows me. I found myself kind of in the role of being the perpetual question asker. And so I think my design helped me really reflect on which relationships felt truly reciprocal, where I was not the only one doing the seeing, I was not the only one inviting, asking the questions. And as a result, my community got a lot smaller, but also got a whole lot more meaningful. So I would say in my 30s, like, my relationships have changed so dramatically. I would say as a manifesting generator, I'm curious what your experience is with this, but I would say it's really like, yes, things might keep changing in your life. That's so inherent to who you are. You might have new friends that pop up because you have new passions and new excitements. Maybe you meet somebody at tennis and it's like, oh my God, this person feels amazing right now. But I would also say more generally, it's so important to really be connected to people that just make space for your constant evolution, that don't expect you to stick with a thing because it's the way you've always done it. Don't expect your career path to make sense to them. Like, don't make you feel like you need to temper your enthusiasm, because manifesting generators are like big, they're passionate, they're excited. And like, it's around kind of being around people that like just love being lifted by you in that way, love that enthusiastic energy. So I'd say so many manifesting generator clients I've worked with have felt, yeah, they've got to hold themselves back because they're too much. I'm curious, do you feel like your relationships have changed, and do you feel like you can really reflect on which ones offer you that permission?
Such a good question. And I think, I don't know about you, but in my 20s, my friendships were all about having fun and, partying and like just going out and drinking on the weekends. And there was such a different focus in my friendships. And then I've been sober now for 2 years and in my mid 30s. And I just feel like I've evolved so much. And there are very few friends that I have, probably two or three, that have evolved with me as I've changed and that have made space for the ways that I've grown or the ways that I've changed, and where I don't feel like there's that judgment, and I don't feel like there's the expectation that I'm going to be who I've always been, because yeah, I feel like I've
Yeah.
evolved and I've grown so much, and there's value changes for me, and just the way that I approach life is very different. And yeah, there's very few people. My circle is also way smaller now in my 30s. But it's for people where I don't feel judgment. I feel fully seen, and I feel excited when I'm around them, because that is important to me. I need that
Yeah.
ability
So
to
important for you.
be excited about what's going on in my life, and people where it's not a competition. I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but in female friendships, it can sometimes feel like, I don't know, it's like the vibe of trying to one up each other, or there's a competition in some way. And I'm just very much like, I'm going to do my own thing. And it has nothing to do with being in competition with you. So if I get the vibe that's happening, I'm going to pull away. So yeah, it's a very small circle, but it's a really wonderful circle that feels life-giving and energy-giving to me.
I love that, and I think that that is such an important thing for manifesting generators, is just like, yeah, that it gives you energy, that you kind of leave more energized than you started. Um, and I think I'm also reminded, just in general, beyond human design, that like we can make new friends at any moment in our lives, and it's just sometimes easy to be like, oh, well, these are like my old friends, but it's just like things are always changing. I know since I became a mom and since I moved to the woods, it was like my community has changed dramatically, but like we can always make new friends. And I think that is always such a good reminder for me, especially in moments where I felt more disconnected. Um, you know, to close the loop on some of the other types, I think for manifestors, it would be helpful to kind of hear a few relationship needs for each of the other types.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would say for manifestors are very provocative people. So you kind of want people around you that like are ready to be provoked by you, like kind of ready to just like have you provoke them in new directions, initiate you in new ways, and um, to not feel threatened by that. I think also manifestors are like big visionaries. Like they're really good at having these very disruptive new ideas. So it's also important to be with people that like aren't trying to like convince you out of your ideas, or asking you to follow a more predictable path, but are kind of really trusting the fact that you're like meant to go a different way, and they might not understand it yet, but they might later. I think it's also important for manifestors to not feel the need to be constantly available in their relationships. for them, they're going to have periods of full energy and periods of needing to rest, and being able to communicate that need without feeling like they're not showing up as a friend, that like constant availability is not the only measure of friendship. And I tell a lot of stories of that in the book of how people have kind of communicated that, because often where they thrive is in relationships where they feel the most free to kind of be themselves, do what they want when they want, and not feel restricted in any way. I would say for generators, it's similar to manifesting generators in many ways, but generators in relationships can often feel burdened by kind of carrying all the responsibilities themselves because they're so capable. So I think it's so important for them in relationships to feel like their desires are like important and taken seriously, and spaces created for them. I tell a story in the book of a couple, they're both generators, of like how important it is. And one of them's like, I notice you need a moment, like go be out in the yard, do the thing you love. Or I notice you need to go work on your book, go work on your book. Like this recognition of like, go do the thing you love, because I know you'll come back way more energized as a result. And then I think as a reflector, reflectors are really rare. They're really fluid. They're changing every day. So I think it's important in relationships that you're not expected to stay the same, similar to you in many ways. And that like you're not expected to be available for a thing today because you were yesterday. And reflectors take in so much of the energy of the people around them. So really making sure those they're spending time with really feel good to be around, because they're going to take it all in. And I also think reflectors are so wise in their perspective. So really investing in relationships where it feels like their perspective is really asked for and wanted, and spaces created to kind of share their take on the world.
I love it. So important. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I was thinking about how my fiance and he loves to fly fish. That's like his love. He's been doing it since he was 3 years old. But there's moments where I can tell he needs to go fish, and I'll say to him, "Hey, I think you should go do some fishing." And I think it's that attunement, right? Of being connected to our partners and knowing the things that they need, and saying, "Hey, I see you and I want you to be happy and I want you to take care of yourself. You should go do that thing that you love." It's
Exactly.
powerful.
Exactly. And it just like so it's so powerful, and it's so powerful to know, yeah, what's really going to work for certain people, because it's really easy to be like, oh, I'm somebody who loves words of acknowledgement or words of recognition. And so, like, or words of affirmation, and not assuming that somebody else wants that. I know as a projector for me, like, words of affirmation are my favorite thing. I love when somebody like specifically acknowledges things that I bring to the table. But my husband, as a generator, like, he doesn't care at all about that. Like, acts of service are way more important. He loves when kind of things are taken off his plate so he has more space to do what he loves. So it's also just helpful to be like, okay, how can I not assume that they're going to want the same thing as me, and take the time to understand what they really need?
I love it. So, so good. I'm so excited for your book to be out in the world. It's amazing. Thank you so much for your time and just sharing with us and for helping me kind of understand myself also. I really appreciate that. Tell the audience, how can they connect with you? Where's the best way to, get in touch with all the things that you offer?
So our website is humandesignblueprint.com. You can get your guide there, which I know we talked about at the beginning, which is basically a guide into all the parts of your design. And the discount code is Dr. Morgan. And then on Instagram, I think I said I'm Erin Claire Jones and Human Design Blueprint, and we'll also offer the link for the book.
I love it. And we'll have everything in the show notes. I am just so excited for you as this is coming out into the world. I know it's going to help so many people.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah. And Erin, before I let you go, I ask everyone this on the show as kind of our final question. If you were walking down the street and someone came up to you today and they asked you for your best life advice of the moment, what would you say to them?
Mm. I think what comes up is actually just asking them, because I think with two young kiddos, this is top of mind for me. Like, what feels the most important in their lives, and like, do their days really reflect that? I think I think a helpful question for me, of just like in general. It's like, okay, I know that these are the most important things. Like, how can I structure my days in a way that feels really aligned? So I think it's really easy sometimes, I know, for me to kind of get caught in these cycles of like prioritizing things that don't actually matter, or working too much, or doing certain things. And I think just being reminded of like, is my life actually a reflection of my values? And if not, how can I create more space for that?
I love that. That is such a powerful question. I hope everybody listening that they go and do that audit of their life. That is so powerful. Thank you so much for your time. It's always a pleasure. I'm so excited for your book. Everyone go check it out. And once again, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And everyone, of course, we are wishing you high self worth and great relationships. I'll talk to you soon.